Welcome back, everyone, to Fantasy Football Weather Guys. We're here with Week 3 updates. Again, my name is Colin Golzinski, bringing the host of this show. With me, I have my great friends and colleagues, our degreed weather experts. We have Dr. Mike Ventris and Sean Bratton. How are you guys doing?
Hey, we call that meteorologist in the field there, Big Cat.
What did I say?
Degreed weather experts.
I don't know. That's what you guys are to me.
Oh, well, we're glad to be back. We're looking forward to a good Week 3 here. I just wanted to give a quick update. My team scored a touchdown. I won my first week here in our competitive league here that Colin hosts. So I'm ready here to move forward and keep going.
Big guy, we call that I'm a commissioner, not a host for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, how did that John Ross prediction work out for you, Mike?
Dude, you were my man. Thank you so much for that advice. So Sean gave me some valuable advice to play John Ross. I spent a lot of money on him. I losing Tyreek Hill was a big loss for me. Shawnee boy said, "Hey Mike, this is you got to run with John Ross here." He had that nice long touchdown. He gave me that victory. Thanks so much.
You spent $40 on him?
No, it was 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
just don't play versus me, Mike. Just don't play him versus me.
So let's get to this week, right? We have 3 games that we're looking at that have some caution. We have the Rams, Browns, Ravens, Chiefs, and a game in Seattle. There's our website that's up on the screen that you can always get the updates. Saints, Seahawks was the 3rd game. We're really going to focus first on the 2 games in the heartland of the country. So Sean, why don't you take it, talk about, the Ravens, Chiefs.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first game we're going to be focusing on here, and this is actually the Browns game and the Kansas City Chiefs game, all are dealing with the same system. We're going to first talk about the 1 p.m. game, which is Baltimore Ravens at the Kansas City Chiefs. And so what we're looking at right here is basically a front that's going to be moving past and through the area. And what we're looking at here is the duration. So basically morning into afternoon. The image you're seeing now is at game time. So the big question for the meteorologist is, will this pass through, or is this going to produce rain for game time?
Yeah, this is looking like quite the wet day in Kansas City. If anyone's planning on doing some tailgating out there, just be prepared. Wear some rain protection gear there. It's going to be tough. So as Sean mentioned, there's a ton of moisture coming up with the system. This is a remnants of Tropical Storm Imelda. It's going to bring a lot of rain across the Midwest, and that timing there is tough. So, Sean, let's say that this rain has some impacts here. Why do we care?
Yeah, I mean, and if it does have an impact, I'm going to say it's going to be in the early part of the game. And we do see Patrick Mahomes being this huge shootout quarterback, a cannon of an arm, 50-yard TDs. We've seen that all year. He leads the league in passing TDs. If this rain does keep up for a quarter or two, I'm going to cap my ceiling a little bit on Patrick Mahomes. I think those big bombs to Robinson, to Sammy Watkins, who a lot of you have been picking up, Nikhil Hardman, I limit their upside a little bit, and maybe he resorts to using his legs a little bit more or some shorter passes.
I picked up Nikhil Hardman in every league, hoping I could play him here. So I'm going to be paying attention to this forecast. Since there's some uncertainty in the timing there, let's say that there's a chance that rain's gone before the game starts. And in order to know that information, you should stay up to date with our social media outlets. We're going to be putting out information as the day goes on.
Yeah, like we said, we're gonna have the links in the description. The website's up on the screen for our podcast listeners. It'll be in the description also. We appreciate all the support. Follow us again on all the social media. I got to put the plugs in, guys. Sorry, keep going with the weather.
No, absolutely. And to Mike's point, check on Sunday. Notice that we have all cautions out right now. We may up some of these to extremes, but we just need to have a little more information before putting that extreme out. So you'll get updates on that Saturday and Sunday.
And you guys were saying that, the extreme that we could put out could really be dependent on that one storm shifting east, which would affect the Browns-Rams game.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rams-Browns is actually our Sunday night game around 8 o'clock Eastern time. So that front is going to move to the east. So as it's just finishing impacting the Kansas City game, it's going to potentially be impacting the Cleveland area. So again, it's kind of the opposite problem with the Kansas City Chiefs. And hey, is this going to be done by game time for the Cleveland Browns? It's, hey, will it start by game time? My prediction, I'm going to say, is yes, I do think this front moving through will influence the area throughout the game.
Yeah, this is an 8:20 game here in Eastern time. And, anytime there's a front passage, you're going to have some wind, some rain. And this potentially could impact some of the passing game, right, for some of those Cleveland Browns or even those LA Rams. So, when I'm thinking about this, as a, who am I going to go against here? For the Rams specifically, I'm worried about those big plays. Maybe some of that wind messes up some of the ball motion in the air there. So I'm worried about some of those speedsters for the LA Rams. So Sean, what do you think about that here moving forward?
Yeah, and one map that we didn't show, but that Mike and I were looking at is winds, and there are some gusts associated with this front where we could be looking at 15, maybe 20 miles an hour at times. So I'm a little concerned with the passing game as well. I think you're playing Odell Beckham Jr., no doubt.
He was a monster last week.
Right? No doubt about it. I mean, Jarvis Landry, he's been having his own issues. He's more of a slot guy. He's getting the shorter passes. I'm not overly concerned with weather with him. I'm just more concerned overall fantasy with him. But I do think Nick Chubb is going to potentially play a little bit more of a breakout role. I know he got a touchdown last week, so he's been getting his points, but I still think we're waiting for that big game. And I think if we do get this rain and that starts to interfere, he may get some more carries. Baker Mayfield's been getting a lot of attempts behind center. So I think maybe Nick Chubb gets that ball just a few more times, maybe give him a few more opportunities. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I think, as we could shift gears to the LA Rams, like Todd Gurley is probably going to be a solid play here. We saw his uptick in usage there. So if there's more ground games, Gurley's probably going to be a pretty decent play here. Specifically speaking against the wide receivers here, I think Cooper Kupp is probably a safer play compared to some of, Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is more that deep ball threat. I'm shying away from that and hedging more towards Kupp. Rob,
what do you think about Robert Woods? I mean, he could have had a TD and a bigger game last week, but he got some bad calls called against him. Maybe not bad calls, but he did have some calls called against the offense, so negated those gains and that touchdown. Do you think, would you be up on him this week, or are you kind of pulling back on him with potential rain in the forecast?
I think he's a safe play as well. He seems to be a guy that gets a ton of volume, so I honestly think he's going to perform here. I think he'll meet his expectations. Let's take a look out in the Pacific Northwest here, Sean. Give us a little breakdown here of the forecast.
So this is our third game that you guys are talking about, by the way.
Thanks.
What's that now?
We're going to talk about the Saints Seahawks now. Mike's getting a little antsy driving the math, but that's cool.
Yeah, no, and you know what? This should look really familiar to all of us. This has been a real popular storm track for us. We have another system influencing the Pacific Northwest. That guess what? Just like week one is going to be influencing the Seattle Seahawks. This time they're playing the New Orleans Saints. We expect moderate to possibly at times heavy rainfall for the duration of this event. Maybe winds aren't quite as impactful, but conditions could be wet.
Yeah, we saw this.
Go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say, we saw the same setup on Monday. I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago, week one. And it did impede some of the passing games for Russell Wilson. He threw under 200 yards there. He's projected to throw 250 this week. So I think, I would take the under on that game, going with maybe 225 yards, 2 touchdowns. Again, you're banking on those touchdowns for him to retain his value. But I am shying away from guys like Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Now, they both performed in that week one game, but Tyler Lockett only had 1 reception for a 44-yard touchdown. That's a risky play on any fantasy means if you're banking on a 1 reception for a long touchdown, right?
Do you say that the Saints get a thumbs up to their running game in this one, or is it too soon?
The Saints or the Seahawks?
No, I was making a pun on.
Oh, sometimes things go over my head. Actually, a lot of times they do, especially Colin's jokes. So.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm there with you. Don't worry.
Special type of sense of humor.
But speaking of running backs, I'm putting hands down. I have him in a couple of my leagues. Chris Carson, 2 fumbles last week. Rashard Penny was taking over some of the carries. I'm a little worried about that, but I think they go to Chris Carson. Pete Carroll's committed to his running backs. I think that Chris Carson has another opportunity to get a touchdown and maybe even a few receptions. For those of you in PPR leagues, I'd be putting him out there. I think he gets a heavy workload this week.
Yeah, this is a big bounce back week for Carson here. And if the one thing you have to worry about is if Rashad Penny has closed that gap here. He was effective last week when we saw Carson fumble twice last week. Penny was thrown into that role. He's that number 1 pick that first round pick caliber type of player. So you have to be a little concerned there about that usage, and we'll have to see how that moves forward.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing with Rashard Penny that I do want to mention is that he had the one long game that was like 30 yards, 30 yards for a TD. Other than that, he had like 9 carries for 25 yards. So his efficiency wasn't overwhelming, but he does have that breakout potential. So it's something definitely to keep in mind. Mike, what do you think about the Saints with the new Teddy Bridgewater behind center?
He gives him a thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm nervous about it, to be honest. It does seem like there's going to be some splittage in the quarterbacks there, the quarterback usage between Bridgewater and Hill there. So I'm a little worried about Kamara's value. I don't think he's a top number, top 3 running back here. I mean, he'll get the usage, but other guys like Latavius Murray, I dropped him. I just don't think the value's there until Brees comes back.
Yeah, I would agree. However, what we saw in the first game, and how this was with Drew Brees, but they didn't go to Kamara much in the first half, and then they started go to him, make him a workhorse, and they realized that worked. I think that the coaching staff, Sean Payton's going to go back to the game film from week 2 and say, we got to get Kamara the ball somehow, some way. Now, what he does with it and how efficient he is, that's maybe concerning, but I think he's going to get his opportunities. So I think you're right. Latavius Murray, not as viable of option. I don't think he's going to get as many touches.
So we're going to keep, all the weather updates, like we've said, on our website, our social media platforms. It's important. I just want to, make reference that we have put cautions out for some of these games, but again, it could switch to extreme. It really depends on when that front hits. If it moves east later in the afternoon, that's really going to affect the Browns. If it hits earlier in the day, it's the Chiefs game. Just stay up to date. We're gonna update everything, and again, the extreme, we don't want to get too overzealous by using that. So it's going to be closer to game day.
We are going to put that extreme label when we have confidence, right? When we know that the weather is bad enough to have those impacts and feel confident about it.
Exactly, and as Mike knows, the weather models are still trying to sort out the timing for some of these things. But I mean, get excited. This is the first week where we could have some serious, significant impacts for weather, and we're going to see more of this as we head into the fall season. But again, before we put out that extreme, we're just going to want to look things over Saturday into Sunday, and then we'll put out extreme if we feel it's necessary.
And that's a good segue, Sean, about what we were talking about adding to our channel and our cast, is because we're starting to see more weather impacts that actually could have real potential for impacting the gameplay. We're going to start discussing possibly some over-under or situations, and these 2 games that could be affected by the tropical remnants that Mike was saying is the Rams Browns and the Ravens Chiefs. They're the 2 highest possible over-under right now on the book with the sports books. Rams Browns is 49.5, and the Chiefs Ravens is 53.5. I mean, I'm still thinking that the Chiefs are more going to be able to. I'm not so confident on the under on that one, but I will say if that system moves east, I'm putting a bet on the under with the Browns.
Yeah, we haven't really seen Mahomes too much in the sense of extreme weather, so it's unclear to me exactly how he'll respond to that. And especially since there's some timing issues there with the game in Kansas City, if that rains out of the area, then the offenses should perform as expected, right? And I think we have a higher confidence in the weather being more of a factor at the Cleveland Browns stadium. So that's why we both have we all agree here that if you're going to take an over under there, that game,
take the under. Take the under.
Yeah, take the under with Cleveland. My bet is weather is going to influence the Browns game, not going to be as much of a factor for the Kansas City game.
Awesome, guys. I mean, I think that kind of wraps up this week. It was some good information. Stay up to date on our website. Do you guys have anything else to offer?
Just we're just pumped here, and I'm looking forward to moving on with week 3 and trying to win all of my leagues. Keep it going.
How many leagues are you in, Mike?
5. I'm in 5 leagues. I won 4 out of 5 last week, so I felt pretty good after this past week.
Yeah, no, I mean, everyone, good luck this week. And, again, we're looking forward to offering you weekly forecasts here. And I think weather, as you're going to notice, is going to become more of a factor in weeks to come. So stay with us.
Yeah, check the website for a blog to get more detailed analysis. Check the website for the updates Saturday, Sunday morning for the games. YouTubers, click subscribe. We'll put the link there. Podcast listeners or other listeners, thank you. We appreciate it. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at FFWeatherguys. And we'll see you next week.